And good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Torah L'chaim, our weekly Torah study session that we have. And it's great to have you coming back week after week. It's a great honor to be here so we can study together a little bit of Torah this afternoon. If you had lunch already, good for you. If not, feel free to eat while you study so it becomes a lunch and learn. Or maybe you can have a quick bite right after the class. Whatever it is, thank you for being there. My name is Rabbi Anibal. I'm the spiritual leader at Congregation Shaarey Zedek here in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. It's 12:06 p.m. Central Time. And I would like to welcome everyone. Let's see who is in the chat. Priscilla Kerr is here. Elaine Sommer is here. Thank you. Welcome. Andrea Rojave is here. Jerome Fomin. And who is 900 Flying Muffins? It's a nice name, but I don't know who you are. Anyway, welcome to the class. Judy Sharak is here. Good afternoon. Shalom and welcome. And we are going to study today Parshat Vayishlach. Scary Dwayne, welcome. Okay, good to have you here studying Torah. The Torah portion, but it has many different things, okay? But we are going to study mostly things around the episode of the fight in between Jacob and the angel. This is a famous biblical story. Many people are familiar, and maybe they are not familiar with the details, but they're familiar with this image of Jacob fighting an angel all night. This is what we are going to study today. All the details about that fight. Jacob wrestling with the angels. I don't know if you ever seen a painting of that or a picture. It's funny because they're not punching each other. It's not that kind of fight. All the paintings portrayed Jacob like having like a judo fight or like a jiu-jitsu fight with the angel. It was a grappling competition. Hi Claudette, welcome to the class. And yeah, it's funny that nobody, at least no paintings that I've seen, show the two of them punching and kicking, just like a hand wrestling, I guess. Yeah, and well, I don't think it's a spoiler. If you're familiar with the story, what happened at the end is there was a tie. It was a tie, but the angel has to leave. So the angel did something. I don't know if it was a trick or if he was allowed to do that. Last minute, he injured Jacob before he left, and then Jacob will have difficulties to walk for the rest of his life because of this fight with the angel. Yeah. Okay, Priscilla, you said here, let me see. You said, I'm excited to finally be in person at Shaarey Zedek on my friend's bar mitzvah soon. Oh yeah, you're probably going to be there for Felipe, right? Yeah, he's my student. He's great. And he wants to be a YouTuber one day. So we are studying during the class equal parts of Torah and streaming techniques. Yeah. So maybe one day he'll have this famous channel. And I said, hey, I was the bar mitzvah student of that guy. Okay, so let's take one more minute to say hi so I can start at 12:10. Let's start with the class. So maybe we can do this all the time, right? If you're watching a repetition, a playback of the class, just go 10 minutes after 12 or something. So the 10 minutes mark, and then you can go straight to the class, right? Carried one, you said, do you know when we are going to have Kiddush again? No, I don't. Sorry, I don't know when. So let's study with the class. let me introduce the text. This is what happened. Jacob was coming back home. He was away from home for many years. He already married away from home, had children away from home, and now the whole mishpacha, the whole family is coming back to the land of Israel. But Jacob was actually kind of afraid because he will have to see his brother Esau again. And I don't know if you remember, last time they saw each other, it wasn't in friendly terms. Jacob actually tricked Esau twice. One, to get all the extra money that comes with the firstborn rights. So in other words, he almost stole with a trick the firstborn rights from Esau. Esau was the oldest. And then eventually when Isaac was very sick, he didn't know if he was going to live for much longer, so he wanted to bless his children, and he called Esau as the firstborn and said, come here, I want to give you my special blessing. Jacob didn't like the idea. He disguised himself as Esau. He came to visit Isaac, and he got that blessing instead of Esau. So you can imagine Esau felt that he was tricked twice and wanted to kill Jacob. But now Jacob is coming back. What is going to happen? What is going to happen? Probably those thoughts were echoing on Jacob's head all the journey. So eventually there is this episode in the Torah that it says it was already night. His family was moving forward, but he decided to go back a little bit. So now he was alone, middle of the night, and this is when this episode happens, that he started to wrestle with this strange being that then at the end we realize that is an angel from God. Okay, so they were wrestling all night. Nobody could win. They were at a tie. And eventually, when it was at the end, the angel injured Jacob on his leg, on the sciatic nerve of his leg. That hurts. But it has to be something really, really bad, because he was crippled for the rest of his life. So we don't really know the extent of that injury. So this is the way the Torah presents the end of this wrestle match. The Torah says, then he said, he is Jacob. He said to the angel, let me go, for dawn is breaking. Oh no, sorry. He is the angel. Now this is the angel talking to Jacob. Whew. So then the angel said to Jacob, let me go, for dawn is breaking. But Jacob answered, I will not let you go unless you bless me. Said the other, what is your name? He replied, Jacob. Said the angel, your name shall no longer be Jacob, but Israel, for you have striven with beings divine and human and have prevailed. Jacob asked, pray tell me your name. But the angel said, sorry, you can't ask my name. And he took leave of him there. He disappeared. Wow. It's a very interesting story. Lots and lots and lots of hidden messages here. Reading this story, even started with a few verses before the encounter with the angel, the fight with the angel, the details after this, all the symbols here. It's almost like watching or it's almost like reading a Dan Brown book, with this fast-paced story with lots of hidden messages. I don't know if you ever read one of Dan Brown's books, but I don't know, somehow it reminded me to that. Welcome, John, son of David, is here with us today. Glad that you could catch the class today. So what do we learn from this story? Do you have any reading, anything that just by reading the text without any rabbinic insight? Okay, welcome, Peter. Petrenko, you said the ligament on the hip is ligament teres. Why do you say sciatic nerve? Oh, well, it's supposed to be the same area, and that's why we don't eat in these days. We Jews, we don't eat the sciatic nerve part of the animal. Is in remembrance of this episode. Hopefully we will be able to study that. It's at the end of the class. We may be short of time, but yes, it's supposed to be some kind of ligament on the leg, but my understanding is in that area, Okay, but it's so many beautiful things here going on that we can learn. First thing you're going to notice here, and this is very strange. Why did the angel say, "Let me go, for dawn is breaking"? What's wrong with that? What is it? When you have to come back home at specific time because otherwise you're going to get in trouble with your parents. So did this angel have to go back to God at a specific time? But we don't know why. What's wrong with the angel staying there? And we are going to see in a minute that some rabbis try to explain that. This verse here is one of the verses quoted when people study angels in Judaism. So we don't know what it is. Now the next thing is, if this individual is an angel, why would they ask Jacob, "What's your name"? Wouldn't the angel know Jacob's name? Why was he there fighting Jacob? You would expect that God will tell this angel, "Go down there and fight Jacob." But nevertheless, the angel asks, "What's your name?" Isn't that strange? And again, if you have any comments, please start typing it in the chat. I would like to read what you think about this episode. It's really amazing. Okay? And then the fact that Jacob asked, "What's your name?" And the angel said, "You can't ask my name." But that's not true, but because we know that angels do have names. There are many angels that we know in Jewish tradition, like Raphael, Gabriel, Michael, Uriel, Paniel. Those are angels and they have names. So why did this angel said, you are not allowed to ask for my name? Lots of question. And before that, why will the angel injure Jacob on the leg? What was the idea? Couldn't he do it before the end of the fight? Well, we'll try to answer some of these questions. But again, if you have any idea of what's going on here, please type it in the chat because I am curious of what you think about this. Priscilla, let's see what you have to say. He said, "Yeah, I always wanted to know why he did not know his name. Why do you go fight with someone God sent you? I don't even know what's the individual, right?" It's like when you go to when you see like a boxing match or in this day, what is it, MMA match like the UFC and everything. The first thing that people know are the names of the fighters. It's the first thing. Everything is about the name of the fighter. But here we don't know. Jerome, you said, let's see, Jacob was no longer the same person. He no longer was a cheat and deserved a better name, a new identity. Interesting. But we know that name came from the angel, because Jacob still said, "I'm Jacob." Jacob still said, "I'm Jacob," and that's something. Okay. Now let's start with a few pieces of, should I call it theology? I don't know, angelology. This is for people who specialize in angels in Judaism, right? For example, this Rabbi Baruch Davidson, he said, "In our daily prayers, we refer to the song of praise with the angels sing before Hashem, before God. The angels have shifts, singing at designated times of day or night. The type of praise they sing reflects the particular angel's spiritual status." The angel singing is alluded to in the above-mentioned story of Jacob's fight with the angel, at the end of which the angel pleaded with Jacob to free him, for the dawn has risen. According to the Midrash, the angel's rush was because his shift to sing before Hashem had arrived. Similarly, according to the Midrash, when Moses spent 40 days studying with Hashem, that was when Moses went up mountains to receive Torah, the idea is that he was 40 days and 40 nights studying with God. Moses knew what time of the day was based on the changing shifts of the angels singing. This is very interesting. And I don't have an explanation of why this is the way it is, but this is rabbinic knowledge of what's going on with the angels in heaven. I'm pretty sure this is also a big metaphor for something else. Not sure about what, but the whole story of the angels and how they work is all supposed to be an allegory to something bigger, something greater than that. It's not just about to read a little story of angels singing to God. But it's interesting that according to this rabbi, God sent this angel during the time of the day that the angel wasn't going to be busy singing praises to God. Okay? Because this angel belonged to the daytime shift of singing praises to God. So overnight, he had nothing else to do, so God could send him to wrestle with Jacob. Now again, we also have to understand, and I mentioned this many times, and I mentioned also the last week's sermon. So if you want to know more about that, I recommend you go to our YouTube channel and look for my latest sermon. It's called Old Angels and New Angels. I'm talking a lot about these angels, but in a nutshell, one thing that all angels have in common is that after your encounter with the angel, you're going to understand something new. It's not that God is going to make a miracle and something is going to happen miraculously. It's more of something that it was always there, but for some reason you had a block. You couldn't see it. And you are meant to see it. So God will send an angel to open your eyes, to lift that veil, so you can see this what you're supposed to understand. You will understand when you're supposed to understand. It's like Jacob here. I believe one of the things is Jacob should understand that he's not Jacob anymore. He's Israel. But he wasn't willing to let it go. How difficult it is to let go of things from the past. Well, I believe the pandemic, the COVID pandemic, had taught us a lot about this. Many people that even to the day, after 2 years of a pandemic, they don't want to let go things of the past. And sometimes it's difficult for us to understand that for many things, the world has changed. And chances are that many things, they will never going to go back to the way they were before. So what do you do when that happens to you? You have to let it go. But we don't want to. We wrestle. It's almost like we can hear this voice saying, let it go. Let it go. But we don't. So we wrestle all night. And I believe also that the fact that they wrestled all night where it was dark, it's the dark place that we feel we are when we are wrestling with something inside our head. When we have those kind of dilemmas, life dilemmas, we feel that we are in darkness. Until at one point we see the light at the end. We realize that sometimes we have to change, that sometimes we have to do things differently, sometimes we have to rethink many things of life. When we arrive to that point is when we say goodbye to the old reality. We embrace the new one, and then something changes. But what made you change, what made you understand something new, that is, so to speak, an angel. But an angel doesn't necessarily have to be a person, because sometimes we realize that we change for many different reasons. It could be something that you read, could be even a movie that you watch that make you think, and then all of a sudden you change. And yes, sometimes it's a person, a personal contact with somebody. Sometimes it's a lecture, many different ways. But then for some reason, something changed inside ourselves. We start looking at things differently. And it's not that things in front of us changed overnight, but we changed, and we can perceive the reality the way it is. Hello, Karen Farkas. Welcome. Thank you. You like the Dvar Torah? Yeah, I like it too. Sometimes it's It's something that I wanted to talk about for a long time, and the Parsha gave me the opportunity, the platform to do that. Any comments about this, about the angels? You see, this thing that I mentioned about the darkness that we are when we are struggling. And I read this comment here in this rabbi who said, the things that you're wrestling with are the things you've been relegated to darkness. So again, not a coincidence. You can wrestle with things in the dark, but when the rise of the dawn comes, that enlightenment is the most threatening part of it. It's when you cannot deny it anymore. Maybe that is also related to the injured that Jacob suffered. Sometimes you realize that maybe he didn't have to fight this angel. Had he let him go earlier on, he wouldn't have suffered the injury on his leg. But because he waited until the last possible moment, and that's where the injury happens. Because when you keep fighting and you never stop to rest, to replenish your energy, and you keep fighting it, eventually you're gonna get hurt, because our emotional energy sometimes diminishes. So it's a difficult situation. Yeah. So this is what I set out to here, try to answer the first question. The first question that I read, that is the angel saying, let me go, for dawn is breaking. Okay? Yeah, Karen, you said, let me see here, you said, I think of the thing I wrestled with in the dark as my devils. Yeah, it's, I believe we all have it. We all have it. And sometimes, I don't know if we should pray to have an angelic encounter to help us open our eyes to look at things differently. It's a beautiful thing when that happens. Frightening though, because many times when you discover new things, what if it means that you have to change your lifestyle? What if it means that you have to go and study again? Many people are discovering that these days, when all of a sudden they have to start doing things online only because everything was closed. You know how frightening that is when you realize that that's the reality? And sometimes people said, no, we keep fighting it. This is just for a little bit, and it's going to change. And then it doesn't change. It stays there, and we fight it. And then eventually we realize, no, you know what? That's the way it is. I better go and study how to use a computer or how a cell phone works or an iPad. And it's a frightening it's a frightening moment until we get familiar with it. And funny thing, life is that sometimes you get familiar with something after lots of struggle, and then things change yet once again. So, but that should be a topic for a different kind of class or a sermon. The concept of remain flexible in life, because as soon as we settle too long with something, then it's more difficult to change, to adapt to whatever realities we will have around. So there are certain things that we have to be strong, like our faith, for example, or belief in God. But there are other things that happen around us that we should be flexible and change if the circumstances change. Now, let's try to address the second issue here, which is the question that the angel said to Jacob, what's your name? And then I guess we agreed, I've seen it in the comments, we agreed that it doesn't make any sense. Why will the angel ask, what's your name? Come on. The angel didn't know that he was fighting Jacob? Well, the rabbis are puzzled by this, right? Yeah, it's not just you that noticed it. The rabbis noticed it as well. So say, what was the sense? What was the idea of this, what's your name, coming from the angel? Well, the rabbis noticed that these kind of questions are not unique to this story. This kind of question happened before in the Torah as well, in similar circumstances. And let me bring you this text from Radak, who said in the 12th century, said, this question, the question from the angel, is an opening to the conversation. Like, where are you? Remember when Adam and Eve, they sinned, and God approached them, and God asked them, where are you? God didn't know where Adam and Eve were. God is God, right? But why would he say, where are you? It was an invitation to a dialogue. Sometimes, I will talk about it in a minute. Or when God said to Moses, what is that in your hand? He was talking about the staff, the stick. God knew what it was. Come on, right? Come on. And other similar places, because in the other similar places in the Torah, because the angel knew his name when he was sent to him, to Jacob. So basically, these are phrases to start a conversation in a non-intimidating manner. Because try to imagine Adam and Eve, they sinned, they realized of their mistake. They probably thought that God was angry at them, and they were probably right. But if God would approach Adam and Eve by saying, I can't believe what you did, what would be your reaction if somebody approached you like that? It was like very frightening, and then we get defensive, and it doesn't end well. So God said, where are you? Hey, where are you? Guys, I want to talk to you. It's a different kind of approach. Or as with Moses, God could have told Moses, do this and that with the stick and a miracle is going to happen. But again, God said to Moses, what is that in your hand? By the way, at that time when God said to Moses, what is that in your hand? And Moses said, this is a stick. And then God said to Moses, well, you're going to perform many miracles with that stick. The funny thing about that story is that Moses, also like Jacob, was struggling because he didn't know what to do. And who knew? The solution to the problems was always in his hand. He was holding this magical stick forever, and he never realized that he has a special thing on his hand. Moses, you see, how many times happens to us? How many times happened to us? We go through life complaining and we don't realize that the answer was closer than we thought. Sometimes we had what it takes to change our circumstances within our lives already, but we didn't see it. We weren't able to open our eyes and see that. So God said to Moses, Moses, you are complaining to me? Stop. What is in your hand? And Moses said, oh, a special stick. And I had it with me all the time. Very interesting. That Radak, the Rabbi David Kimchi mentioned this because you can see the connection with the story of Jacob. Also with the angel is, number one, trying to talk to Jacob in a not intimidating way, and number two, trying to make Jacob realized that, no, you're not Jacob, you're Israel. But you will say, well, but the angel told him that. Yes, but remember when we talk about the angels, that the angel is the experience of understanding something. It's not necessarily the person of the angel, it's the encounter experience. So that experience of Jacob had with this being made him understand that, whoa, I'm not Jacob anymore. Because Jacob is a name that symbolizes something crooked, a cheater, a trickster. And then he understood, after all these years living in exile, I'm not a trickster anymore. That is not the characteristic that is not who I am anymore. I'm Israel. Israel, by the way, for example, has many meanings, but one of the meanings is coming from the word yashar, that means straight. Trickster, crooked, versus a straight person who now is honest and ethical. And it will be interesting. I mean, I'm getting off topic here, but if you continue reading about Jacob, his name will go back and forth between Jacob and Israel. So yes, he changed, but he was still struggling with the old being, right? And that's okay, because that's the way we are as well. Even when we change is not permanent. It's not forever. We're always struggling. It's like somebody who recovers from drugs or alcohol, right? The danger of relapsing is always there for the rest of your life. So yes, you are sober today. You are Israel today, but the ghost of drugs and alcohols are always chasing you, and you have to be vigilant and so forth. So yeah, it's another message that we learn from here. So names in Judaism are something very special. I don't know if you noticed that. I hope you did. That every name in the Torah, or in the Tanakh, in the Bible, is special, has a meaning, and in the Bible, it defines, the name defines the person, almost like a prophecy. So I wanted to stop for a minute and to talk with you about names in Judaism and the importance of the names. So for example, let me share with you what this rabbi is saying here. Names represent our identity, not simply because they are a convenient way to allow us to be distinguished one from another, which is important. It's important. We need some kind of mark. So when somebody calls us, we will turn and say, oh, yeah, I'll be there, right? If everybody will have the same name, that will be impossible. Let's keep reading. It is because they define us as well. The names are given at birth. The names we are giving at birth are not accidental. They are to some extent prophetic. They capture our essence. They are the keys to our soul. The Hebrew word for soul is neshama. Central to that word, the middle two letters are shin and mem. Let me copy. I have to italize that because they are Hebrew words. Okay, that's the two neshama, in the middle. That makes the word Shem, Hebrew for name. So your name is the key or the core of your soul. And this is very, very interesting. Now, let's think about stories in the Tanakh, in the Bible, where names were changed, for example. Why were they changed? Because the person represented something else. For example, Abraham, he wasn't born Abraham, he was born Avram. And now God changed his name to Abraham, father of many nations. Why? Because that was the promise that God gave to this individual. And the name, if you understand the language, the name is reminding you of that promise every day of your life. Can you remember? Picture for a second you being Abraham, okay? But then when I say Abraham, you actually understand, because you understand the language, you understand that means father of many nations. It will be like somebody says to you, good morning, father of many nations, how are you doing? Good afternoon, father of many nations, how are you doing? Good evening, father of many nations, I hope you will have a good night. So you will have people reminding you of the promise of God every time you encounter them, every time you talk to somebody else. So then you can start understanding why names are so important, because people are going to call you by that name and they are going to be reminding you that that's the core of your soul every time they mention that name. So the thing is, I know we don't understand the meaning of the names anymore when somebody is calling us. especially in Hebrew, because this applies more to Hebrew. But I believe that even so, it's at a subconscious level, we get it every time somebody uses that name. And that's why, and I read this many years ago, that's why we struggle picking a name for a child. I don't know if it happened to you. When you know that, you're pregnant, gonna have a baby, it's time to start thinking for a name, and parents struggle to pick the name. It's not something that they will pick just like that. They take time because they understand that the name is important. Maybe it will be a name that you will pick to honor somebody who passed away, who was very important to you. And you want those qualities, those virtues that you remember from that family member that died, to be present in your child's life. So here we go again. The name that you pick for your child somehow is going to define his life, because you already picked that name based on that. That was the intention when you picked that name. So you can understand how names are so important in Judaism. But in the Torah, when one name was not appropriate anymore because the quality of the person changed, the core of the soul changed, God changed the name. God changed the name to reflect the new reality. And that's why it's very common, name changing in the Torah. Karen, you said, my father was Abram, which is Abraham, and he has 6 children, but only 4 grandchildren. Yeah, but it's but then, every time, for example, that you will put, if you will put that name to a child to honor your father, then it's like the life of your father continues in somebody else, but then somebody else who received that name should be made aware of that, because that wish was passed from parents to children, and it's a beautiful thing. Peter, you said, for example, Hoshea was changed to Yehoshua. Yeah, that is a perfect name. For example, Hoshea was Moses' right hand during the desert. And the name was appropriate when he was Moses' right hand. But eventually God said to Moses, this individual, Hoshea, is going to be the next leader of the Israelites. It's going to be the next leader. But now all of a sudden, the name Hoshea is not appropriate. It's Yehoshua, which means God will help you. So this person who will have to be the leader of the people of Israel for the rest of his life was scared to death. He saw what these guys did. They have to go 40 years in the desert because of these people, the Israelites. And I said, are you nuts? I have to be in charge of them. No way I can do this. So God changed his name. So every time that somebody will say, hi, Yehoshua, it will be a reminder. Hello, God will help you. You know what I mean? Names are so important. Names encapsulate a little bit of a prophecy there, and that's why we have to be aware of that and think it well. Take our times when we pick a name for a child. It's important. It's important. Now, do we have the tradition in Judaism, for example, to change our names like the way it was done in the Torah? Well, not really. Not really. It's very uncommon in Jewish life for somebody to change their names, especially because we are never fully aware in these days of our mission. We can't be sure. We can't be certain. Like in the Torah, when it was God who changed name because God knew that it was a substantial change. So we don't have that. But we do have, and I wanted to discuss this with all of you, we do have an occasion where Judaism says it is okay, or even is encouraged, to change a name. Do we know what I'm talking about? Do you know when in Judaism we change a person's name? Well, when you convert, yeah, that's a perfect example, Andrea. When you convert to Judaism, you get a Hebrew name. And that's why it's also important for a convert to really, really, really think well what name you want, because that name will define your Jewish soul. So if there is anything you want to incorporate to your life, then you pick a name that is appropriate, that projects that ideal that you can add to your life. Thank you. That was a good comment. It's and let me highlight it here, so if somebody's replaying the video, we'll see your comment here. Yeah. So we do have a tradition in Judaism to change a name when somebody is very, very sick, very ill, especially when somebody is about to die, or we think that the person is about to die. There is a tradition to change the name. It's called Seder Shinui Hashem. Seder Shinui Hashem. I don't know if you were familiar with that, but I wanted to present it. If you weren't, well, you heard it from me today. So what is this coming from? This idea of changing the name when somebody is very ill. Well, the change of name as a cure for illness is derived from the Talmud. It says, 4 things annul the decree that seals a person's fate, namely alms, prayer, change of name, here you go, and change of deeds. Okay? This is from Masechet Rosh Hashanah in the Talmud. So basically what happened here is a prayer, of course, and amends with other people, but you change your deeds, because it's the belief that what if what I'm going through is a result of what I've been doing. So one of the things that people will do is reflect on their actions and do things differently, because we never know. But it's always good. It's always good to change for the good, for the better, right? And to change our deeds, to start doing good things. And the other thing is tzedakah, of course, giving tzedakah. That also always we believe tzedakah has the power also to protect you from death. That is also in the Talmud. It was presented by Rabbi Akiva, in fact, that thing. But I want to talk to you specifically about this business of changing the name. What does the name have to do? We understand the deeds. We may even understand tzedakah because you're helping other people. But what's the name? What is about that? Okay, so Rabbi Judah HaChassid from the 13th century says, if one is dangerously sick, his name shall be changed, which may reverse the decree. So we have other rabbis reinforcing the idea from the Talmud. So the new name for the patient is selected from the Bible. The first name that appears on a given page being adopted. So this is one of the technique of choosing a name for somebody that is ill. You almost play like it's almost like, I don't know, like an oracle or something. You get a Bible, you randomly open it in a page, and you start reading from the beginning of the page. The first name that you read in the story, whatever story that is, that becomes your new name. That is one belief of how to do it. But there was a problem with that. And I will keep reading here. It said, Rabbi Israel Bruna, in his responsa, protested against the adoption of the name of a wicked person when such was the first found, and ordered it to be passed over for the first righteous one, citing, the memory of the just is blessed, but the name of the wicked shall perish. So this is the thing. According to this rabbi, the way you do it, if you want to add a name, you randomly open a book and you start reading. If the first name that shows up is the name of an evil character in the Bible, keep reading until you read a name that is a name of a righteous character from the Torah, and then you add that name to you. For example, let me give you, yes. First name of the same gender, or if you can convert that name to the female if it's possible. Some of the names you can actually adapt it. Okay, that's the idea. But don't say the Karen, because I will read a little bit more, and you will see that there are other ways of doing this. So let me give you an example how this will work. Let's say that your name is I don't know, Yaakov ben Yitzchak. Okay, your name is Yaakov ben Yitzchak. In Hebrew, you're very sick, so you start reading, and the first name that you found in the Bible was Shlomo, which is Solomon. You randomly open the Bible and the story of the King Solomon. And it's a righteous character, so that becomes your name. So now your name is Yaakov Shlomo ben Yitzchak. So it's not that you change your name, you add that new name to your old name. But technically, you see, you can probably see where it's going. Now you're a different person. Your name is different, so you're a different person. Remember what we said before? If your name is different, you are a different person. It's almost like your soul is different because of that. Okay? So let me explain a little bit more the idea behind this. The underlying principle in changing the name of one who is ill is the assumption that the former name, under which a divine decree was issued, becomes non-existent. And that when a new name is given him, he becomes another person in regard to whom the decree has no force. In a later period, the original name was retained and another added to it, is what I explained before. Usually one signifying the recovery of the patient. The most popular additional names were Chaim, life; Shalom, peace; Raphael, God heals; Azriel, God helps, or some other names selected from the Bible. So here we have another tradition, which basically is not just going to the Bible to pick a name. You're also allowed, if you don't want to do this kind of Bible game, you're allowed to add one of these other names. Chaim, for example, means life. So Yaakov ben Yitzchak, it will become Yaakov Chaim ben Yitzchak, or Yaakov Shalom ben Yitzchak, of Yaakov Raphael, and so forth. But you can still go through the thing of opening either Bible, or some people, what we do is they will go to the synagogue with a rabbi, they will open the scroll of Torah, and they will start reading from there for whatever parsha was that week. And they start reading, and the first righteous name that appears in the parsha, that becomes the name. And they believe it's holier because you picked it directly from a scroll of Torah. Okay, so Tony Schwartz-Bernhout, let's see what you have to say. Good to see you. You say, amongst many Ashkenazi people, you will find a zoonomen given to a sick child. My uncle was Chaim Nachum. His name was Nachum, but Chaim was given, but he was gravely ill. My grandmother-in-law was Chaya Sarah for the same reason. Chaim or Chaya. Yeah. Chaim or Chaya was this extra name. I understand that. Yes, absolutely. And the tradition is, even if that won't cure the person, at least you are delaying the execution of the decree, because now the belief is that there is another decree will have to be processed, right? It's almost like we believe that there is some kind of bureaucracy in heaven, so it will take a little long for God to decree something else. So it's a trick, if not to cure, at least to delay what is inevitable. Yeah. Karen Farkas, what do you say? So if you want to name somebody after a person, do you use their old name or the new name? Or if somebody died, well, will somebody die with an extra name? That's a good question. There are two there are two opinions. One to say, because what happens if the person dies? Do you write on the on the stone, the memorial stone, the new name that it was done after the ceremony, or you write the old name. That there are two opinions. Some people say you have to do the new name. Some people have to say no, because the person died. You keep using the original name. So there is no one answer to that. And if you ask me in a non-hypothetical circumstances, I don't know what I would answer you. I would say I have to research a little bit more about that to make an opinion of what would be my advice. Now, how do we change the name of a person? This is the formula. I brought it for you just for the sake of learning how it's done. There is a text that we read when we do it. So basically, we take the Torah, if that's the method you use, you roll it, you pick the name, and then you keep the Torah open. And in the front of the Torah, you say, when the righteous judgment has already decreed death from illness, behold, our saintly rabbis said, 3 things annul the decree, and one of them is changing the name of the patient. We therefore, in conformity with their advice, have changed the name of Yaakov ben Yitzchak to the name of Yaakov Chaim ben Yitzchak, who is now another person. The decree shall not have any force with regard to him. Together with a change in name, so shall his decree be reversed from justice to mercy, from death to life, from illness to perfect health, for Yaakov Chaim ben Yitzchak. In the name of all the sacred names mentioned in this Sefer Torah, and in the name of the angels, the messengers of healing and salvation, O Lord, send speedily a perfect cure to Yaakov Chaim ben Yitzchak, that this day and years may be prolonged in happiness, in goodness, and in peace forever and ever. Amen. Selah. That's it. That's the formula. That's what you do. And from that day, the new name added the extra name Chaim, for example. Yeah. Any questions? I like when you tell me stories, guys. It's great to know if you ever seen or experienced something like this, like Tony, that you did experience something like that. And I'm not sure if there's I believe there's a Sephardim do this the same. Probably the formula is a little different, but it's common practice. It's common practice to do this. It's coming all the way from the times of the Talmud. So there shouldn't be difference between Ashkenazi and Sephardic. Yeah. Well, we won't have time for the next things that I was going to talk a bit about the changes on the laws of kashrut after the fight with the angel, because this injury in the leg of Jacob had a repercussion in dietary laws. The Torah says that that's why we don't eat the certain parts of the animals, of the cows, because it's what it's very interesting because of the angel. Maybe we'll study that next year when we reach this Haftorah. With the help of God, we'll all be here next year studying Torah together, so we can study other parts of this parsha. So thank you everyone for studying together. And this week we studied Parsha Vayishlach. This class is going to be rebroadcasted tonight at 8 p.m. So if you missed any part of the class, don't worry. You will have a chance tonight to watch it again. Or if you watch the class and you want to watch it again, tune in again, 8 p.m. Central Time. You can see me again teaching you about angels and all these things. Yes. So, and you can share this. So I hear you. Yeah, Karen, that's sad. Yes. Yeah. I hear you. I had the same situation. My father died the same way, and I didn't know anything like this until after he died and started to go to seminary, and this concept was introduced to me. So if you know anybody who may benefit from this, what you can do is forward the class, so more people will be aware of all these things in Jewish tradition that had the power to bring comfort to us. It gives us hope. Sometimes it's all we need. So thanks again, everyone. Hope to see you next week. We will have another class. Remember, for those of you who are expecting me coming back at 2 p.m. for a concert for the Simkin Center, it's not going to happen. There is a funeral at that time, and Shaarey Zedek needs the YouTube and Facebook channel, so I cannot stream the concert. I'm sorry about that. The concert is canceled, so it will be postponed to another date. Okay. So Keridwen, you say, let's see, can you name your child after someone who's still alive? Well, that is a Sephardic tradition, by the way. Sephardim, they use names of people that they are alive. Ashkenazi, they don't. We honor people who, mostly people who already died. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much, everyone. Hope to see you soon. Stay safe. If you stay this long, it means you like the class. So give us the thumbs up. And if you haven't done so, please subscribe to the channel so you will be notified every time we go live or every time we upload something to our social media platforms. Stay safe. Hope to see you soon.